great. So yeah, without any further ado, Tanya, if you could actually pass host over to Kelly or Natalie. I which one of you guys will be screen sharing?
Kelly will.
Kelly will. Okay, yeah. Awesome. If you could pass it over to Kelly and Natalie. So Kelly and Natalie will be here to talk to you about DECA. So for those of you who are unaware, DECA is essentially, very, broad-reaching organization that organizes a variety of business cases in a huge number of subjects, ranging from entrepreneurship to hospitality to accounting to finance, and all these different areas of business. It's a really exciting sort of opportunity, especially for aspiring entrepreneurs and people who would be interested in working in business in the future. And even for people who aren't, it's it's an activity that requires a ton of teamwork, collaboration, learning about a bunch of very interesting topics. So without any further ado, I'll pass the mic over to them because I'm sure you're eager to hear what they have to say. And yeah, over to you guys.
Okay, so hi everyone. Hopefully you guys can hear me and see my screen. My name is Kelly. I'm just going to give a brief introduction about myself. I did DECA for 3 years in high school, and I'm now going into my first year of university. I'm studying economics. DECA was great. I did it from grade 10 to grade 12, and I went to ICDC for all 3 years. And so it was one of my favorite extracurriculars. And in my last year of doing DECA in high school, I actually taught a class. So I have a little bit of experience on how to teach DECA. And I also want to preface this by saying that I know a lot of you guys are not in high school yet because DECA does start in high school, but it is so important to start early on because the kids who do amazing in grade 9 and advance farther into the competition are the ones who have a lot of training beforehand because it is so fresh and new. I remember when I did it in my first year in grade 10, I had like no clue what was going on and I was in grade 10 by then. So I think it's so great and so important that a lot of you guys are younger and able to have this opportunity to start your training earlier. And so, yeah, I'm just going to go through this presentation now on what is DECA. So what is DECA? DECA is basically an organization for high schoolers to compete in different events and network and attend conferences, all relating to business. There are several different clusters and events to choose from that could tailor to you. So like he was saying, there's topics in marketing, finance, business administration, and one that they recently added just a few years ago is entrepreneurship. So basically what it is the competition is set up as like a role play in front of a judge. You can either compete as like an individual or in a team. So there are various different case studies all relating to the different topics in DECA. And basically you're given a situation with a problem and you have to reenact that position that you are given inside the case study and solve it to the judge. If you do a case study as an individual, you have basically 10 minutes to prep. So you get the case study 10 minutes in advance, and then after 10 minutes they take it away from you and then you present that to the judge for 10 minutes. That's if you are competing as an individual. And then there's also team events. Those work a little differently. You have 30 minutes to prep, so they give you the case study 30 minutes in advance and then you present it in front of a judge for 15 minutes. And there are also written events. So I've done both case studies and written events. Written events are where you write a really long report, either 10 to 20 pages depending on the event. They mostly focus on entrepreneurship, but there's a lot that sprinkle into the other categories such as like marketing and finance, and they just all sprinkle through, but most of them focus on entrepreneurship. I would say written events are great for kids who like to have something well prepared in advance to present, because you do get that opportunity to prepare before you go into that room and present whatever you're presenting in front of a judge. And I just also want to say that even if you don't plan on going into business for your future career or future study, the imperative skills that you develop by joining this extracurricular will help you succeed in any academic and career path. I can say this with 100% confidence. I learned so many new things from DECA, not only like a new gain of knowledge of business, but it helped me with my confidence and public speaking and professionalism. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit more about what each case study kind of entails. So there's always going to be PIs, which are performance indicators that you have to hit within your case study role play. So just as an example, I pulled some from actual case studies that you can see on DECA.ca. Some things like detail the function of customer service, or explain key factors in building a clientele, or explain the concept of productivity. These are all performance indicators that you have to talk about while you are explaining the solution to the judge, whatever the problem is within your case study. You have to integrate answering these performance indicators, and that's how you are essentially marked and judged by the judge in front of you. And I will now go over some of the skills and benefits of DECA. So I think that it really does help with oral and written communication if you choose case study or a written event, both of them. They really help you build and develop your skills on that, and it really does help build your confidence. It is so nerve-wracking to be given like a case study in such a short amount of time and then have to go and present that in front of a real professional, because your judges are actual professionals in the business field and business sector, and so they know what they're talking about. So it can be very nerve-wracking, but while you practice and you hone in on those skills, it can really help you develop that confidence through public speaking. It does really expand your knowledge of business, and it promotes critical thinking and problem solving, especially when you're given such a short amount of time to find a solution to a problem. Or even if you aren't doing a case study and you do a written event, there are so many issues and problems that come along with whatever like case study or anything that you're doing, and you have to really come up with good solutions that are not only unique but clear to the judge, and it does really instill professionalism. I just wanted to talk about how DECA works at like the high school level when you do end up getting to high school and you have that opportunity. I think it fosters an environment that really encourages innovation, which allows students to strive and improve these fundamental skills. Along with these skills, there's also employability skills and like building on your leadership skills. So I think DECA is amazing to join. And I also recognize that some of you guys might not be from Ontario. So DECA mostly in Canada focuses on Ontario, but in the recent years, they have expanded it in BC. And if you don't have a DECA chapter at your school, if you find that when you get to high school and you realize there isn't any DECA chapter, you can actually start your own. Most high schools that have chapters existing started because students decided to form together and start their own chapter. So that is totally doable. And I also just want to talk about the fun of DECA. So I got the opportunity to go to internationals for 3 years. So, well, I would have gone this year, but obviously it was canceled. So the 4 locations are Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, California, and Tennessee. And those are like, if you make it to the international level, those are a full week, and they are actually so much fun. Like, there are no parents. You're just with a bunch of kids from all around the world, not only the States. I got to meet so many new people and network. There was people from like Korea and Italy at the international competition the last year that I went. I didn't even know, and I got to meet so many people, and just that experience and being in a new place. Even provincials is so much fun. Provincials is always in downtown Toronto. It's 3 days, 2 nights, and you're again just with all your other friends, and you're getting to better your skills and develop all of these amazing skills through DECA while enjoying yourself and having a lot of fun. So it really is like, it was my favorite extracurricular in high school, and I think a lot of you guys would enjoy it too. Natalie is going to now talk more about the different competition levels, so I'm going to pass that over to her. So.
Hi, I'm Natalie. So basically, just to talk about myself, I also did DECA all throughout high school. I'm going into second year university at Western. And basically, I was the president of my club, and I also qualified for internationals 3 times. And then I also won at internationals, which was a really cool experience. And so before I go into the competition, I just want to emphasize that DECA is like a very prominent club throughout the world, which means that almost every single university, including all the Ivy League schools, really care about DECA, and those who succeed in DECA actually usually get into their top schools, their top choices. I know many students that won at internationals and they got accepted into like Harvard, they got into Princeton, a lot of really good schools in Canada as well. It's something that you can have a lot of leadership experience in, and which a lot of schools are looking for. And it also is something that basically it gives you a lot of interview experience, a lot of professional experience that many schools look for when they want to accept students into university. So it's pretty important to start early, because as Kelly said, the earlier you start, the better you get at it. And if you start earlier, like in elementary school and middle school, that means that you can jump straight into it in high school. You can start succeeding at an early age, which is beneficial for university applications and jobs interviews. Okay, so then just going on into our competitions and what DECA kind of looks like. So in Ontario specifically, we have 3 levels of competition, which means that depending on which region you live in, the first level is called regionals. So if you live in like Toronto, you'd be competing against kids from all over Toronto. If you live in like Mississauga, then you'd be competing against kids from your school board, which is like Peel region. And if you're in Ottawa, then there's Ottawa as well, right? So that's the first level of competition. You get to choose what category you want to do and which one you think is the most interesting. And then you compete against all the kids from that region. You also have to do a multiple choice exam because that usually basically it analyzes basically your knowledge of a certain subject. That if you do well in that regional competition, if you're like in the top 20 or something like that, that means that you get to move on to provincials then. So provincials the next is a competition for all of Ontario, basically. So it's 3 days. You get to stay at a hotel for 3 days with your school, and you basically get to compete with over 7,500 students from all over Ontario. Or if you're from BC, or if you're from like literally another state or province, you compete against that province, that state. That means that like this is not just a business competition. Obviously, you're going to be competing in your category, but you also get a lot of other benefits. Like there's a lot of leadership academies where professionals from like industries, right? That means like CEOs, people who are already in these jobs, talk to you about their jobs, talk to you about how you can get into their positions, how you can get into their jobs. And basically you get to network with a lot of universities and businesses. And oftentimes like you could even get interviews, or you could even get recruited by these jobs and these businesses. And it's a great way to get a head start in your career, get a head start into university. So basically in provincials, you compete against all of Ontario or your province. And if you are in like the top 10 within your category against the students that you compete with, then that means that you get to represent Ontario or whatever province or state you're in at the international competition. So in the next slide, basically the international competition is like one of the most important competitions that universities look at when they choose people to accept, actually, especially in businesses, because basically it's a week-long business competition in the United States where students from all over the world, like I think over 20 countries, meet together and they compete against each other, right? There's like over 20,000 students at this, and this competition is a week long because you get to network with a bunch of students from all over the world. There's a lot of academies, a lot of seminars, and you get to basically meet people and gain a huge network of people that can help you in your future. And at the same time, you also get to learn how other people's compete, right? So a lot of these competitions are really helpful because like when you're writing a business report, oftentimes you're writing a business report on how you would like to start your own business, on what you're passionate about. And if you present that business, the judges that you're presenting your business report to are people who are already in the industry, people who are already CEOs or have these jobs. And oftentimes if you do very well, like if they think you did very well, they might even offer you a job. They might give you advice on how to do better so that you can actually create your business in real life. They give a lot of great advice like this. I think a lot of students that do DECA and go to university are benefited a lot from this, and they end up going to getting a lot of prestigious jobs. They end up having a huge head start amongst their peers and other students. So I'm just going to quickly show a DECA promotion video since it is a little bit confusing what DECA is. So this is the video